Good morning, 10KSB alumni, and welcome to 10KSB Talks. I am Stephanie Bell, your Director of Alumni Engagement, and I am so excited to bring to you the 6th edition of 10KSB Talks. This is a webinar series that is an opportunity for you as 10,000 Small Businesses alumni to continue the learning that you started in your 13 weeks with us. This is an opportunity for you to deepen your understanding of the subjects that affect you as small business owners. We are going to give you the opportunity to ask questions live to our presenter. As always, Glenn will be on the line to answer your questions about communication. Feel free to type your questions in the question box as we go through the presentation, and at the end, I will get to them. All 10KSB Talks are brought to you by your fellow alumni. So for us, this is an opportunity to showcase a thought leader amongst our network. Today, we're lucky to have Glenn Michael Milliot joining us. Glenn is a master stylist, educator, platform artist, consultant, and founder of Glenn Michael Salon. He has 40 years of business and beauty experience. As a master stylist, Glenn Michael's work has appeared in numerous consumer and trade publications, television, and social media. He is sought after as an industry advisor, educating thousands of stylists, salon owners, and educators throughout the world of beauty business and communications. In addition to industry organizations, Glenn Michael is an active member of the National Speakers Association. He utilizes his public speaking and communication skills to provide superior education, motivation, and inspiration designed to increase sales and improve productivity. Glenn shares proven systems using research, listening, verbal, and visual skills to help individuals achieve their goals in business and in life. Welcome to 10KSB Talks, Glenn. We're very excited to have you.
Hey, good morning.
Thanks for joining us again this week. I want to start off by talking a little bit about your past. So you have 40 years in the beauty industry, but what is it in your background that really ignited this passion for the art of communications?
Actually pretty simple. When I first got into the beauty industry, not unlike most of us who get into our careers, I focused on my products, my services, and my technical skills. And what I realized early on was that I wasn't acquiring the amount of revenue that I wanted. I would hear great words from clients about how much they enjoyed the process, the service, yet I didn't see the clients coming back, repeating their visits to the salon. And I realized early on that it wasn't the client, and it really wasn't my technical ability, which was excellent. It was my ability to communicate. The challenge was I was sending the wrong messages with my verbal skills, and even more so, my listening skills. So I was forced, because I wanted to have a better living and provide a better living for my family, that I needed to improve my ability as a communicator. So I went out, I studied at that time, 40 years ago, the best communicators I could. I took classes in communication skills, studied actors, theater, and immediately I started to learn the process of communication. And it's a very easy and simple learned skill. If you can learn it, you can study it, you can apply it, and you can even teach it to other people.
Well, we are really excited to learn more about communication today. I think this is something that can be applied to all industries for small business owners as well as for their staff. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to you. Let's get started.
All right, great. Well, first of all, good morning, everyone. Hope you're going to have an absolutely incredible day. It certainly is beautiful outside. So here's how we're going to begin. We live in a world of sensory overload. We are all constantly bombarded with messages designed to either move us in a particular direction or to get us to take action, designed to move you and sometimes to act again or to take action. And we also do the same thing with the messages we send. You know, we're trying to get that client or our loved one or a friend to either act or take action. From the moment we wake up in the morning, we are sending and receiving messages to move us or to move others to take action. I mean, think about it. We are constantly bombarded. All of our 5 senses come into play in the communication process. And I'm going to show you how easily this works. From the hearing standpoint, this morning you woke up to your alarm. As soon as you woke up to the alarm, you smelled the coffee you set the night before so you would have it ready when you got up. Your feet touched that cold floor and sent you the communication of you wanted to put on your slippers. You looked in the bathroom mirror this morning and went, oh, I definitely have to do something with this hair. And then lastly, when you brush your teeth, you had taste. So hear, smell, touch, taste, everything comes into play in the communication process. Not only for us, yet understand this also comes into play with your client. Think about this morning. How many of you got up this morning and the first thing you did was you turned on your cell phone or your iPad to see what emails, text messages, or whatever was being sent to you? You wanted to be informed. So understand that your ability to communicate with your client has a dramatic effect on your business life, on your financial life, and your personal life. And I want to stress this. A lot of people think that communication is what you tell people. Listen closely. Communication is a dialogue, not a monologue. I don't want to be preached to, nor do I want to preach. So I want to engage in conversation, because conversation is going to be the key to peeling back every layer of the onion, getting right down to the most important thing, which is your client's pain point. Why are they there? Why are they coming to you? We're going to talk today about a few key words, and you're going to hear me repeat these words over and over. We're going to talk about emotional transformation. We're also going to talk about today the emotion of happiness and how that is the key player. And how do you get to that emotion of happiness for the client and close the sale quicker? Also, hopefully, if we have enough time, I'm going to stress this. I see so many salespeople that when it gets to asking for the sale, they think it is a separate part of their communication. And I'm here to tell you it's not. Asking for the sale is simply the last part of the story. Understand that when you tell stories, there are three key things in a story, just like there are three key things in a painting. There's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end. In a painting, there's an entry point, there's the main body, and an exit point. So how many times have we heard a story started off with, once upon a time? There's the beginning. And then there's the main point. Ta-da! We know who the villain is. We know what's going to happen next. And then there's they all lived happily ever after. So again, once upon a time, ta-da! They all lived happily ever after. And understand that all of the information and communications we accept with the belief that those communications will in some way provide us and our clients either the emotion of happiness or unhappiness. My goal for you today is to take away information that will help you do three things: increase your sales, grow your revenue, and develop loyal clients for life. Now, I am of the belief that every living molecule on this planet only does two functions. We either move towards perceived happiness or we move away from perceived unhappiness. Think about this in a conversation. How many times have you gone to an event and you see someone you do not want to have a conversation with? You don't even want to make eye contact. You even position yourself in a part of the room where you could avoid the person you don't want to speak with. On the other hand, you see someone who you love having a conversation with, and you position yourself closer so that you can have a great interaction. So I ask you this question in communication. How many people are canceling appointments with you and conversations with you in order to have a conversation with someone else that makes them more happy? Now, only you can answer that point. This morning, I am so excited to share with my Goldman Sachs 10K alumni and friends and be with you and share with you my life's passion for over 40 years, and that is the art and craft of clear and powerful communications. Over the next few minutes, my goal is to share with you, each of you, as much of my 40-year passion as I can. Therefore, I have selected certain nuggets that I use in my training programs that will help each of you to have a more dramatic and immediate impact on your business, financial, personal lives, and the lives of others. Listen really close. I am often amazed that highly educated, talented, and ambitious individuals frequently overlook the most obvious and number one skill that will separate them from their competition and will virtually guarantee a higher level of success, and that is the power of clear communication. So let's begin. People have the ability to speak at about 200 words a minute, yet we can hear at over 800 words a minute. That means while I'm speaking to you right now, there are three other voices speaking to you in your head. Maybe one of your voices is saying, I really hope Glenn gives me some great information today. Another voice might say, hey, I wonder what I'm going to have for lunch. So understand, at the same time when you're speaking to a client, there are 3 other voices speaking to them at the same time. So being clear, being precise in your message is crucial to helping your client be informed as to why you, and I do mean you, have the product and or service that will make them happy. It all begins with communication. So here's a simple definition of communication for me. I use communication in this aspect. Communication is my marketing. But in your marketing, what are you saying? What is the message? And understand the only purpose for marketing is to make the telephone ring. That phone's not ringing. We need to change the marketing. I'm going to give you some quick nuggets that I use whenever I put a marketing program together. In marketing, always ask these questions: who, what, where, when, how, and lastly, why. Who? Who is my target market? Who could benefit most from the product or service that I sell? What? What are the triggers or pain points in their life right now? You know, certainly if you think back to after Hurricane Katrina, there were a lot of pain points. Yet contractors came into New Orleans and made millions and millions of dollars by helping people become happy with their new home or their remodeled home after Katrina. Where does my market hang out? I can tell you that in this day and age, social media is where your market is hanging out. Every hour, over 10,000 people sign up to Facebook. And also in the coffee shop on the corner. You know, it might even be the mom's club at the school where your child goes to school. The next question is when. When will I begin my marketing campaign? Well, only you can determine that. And I always recommend before you do your marketing campaign, before you launch the date, make sure you are in a ready, aim, fire position. I've seen so many people who want to get their marketing out too quick, and they do a ready, fire, aim, and they miss the target market. Next is how. How will I reach them? Well, you have to put together your budget. Is your budget going to be able to be on social media? Is your clientele looking in print? I've done advertising campaigns for certain products that I use, and if I know it's a younger market, I'm going to be on social media. If I know it's a more mid-aged market, I'm a little social media and a little print. And if it's a much more older or mature market that doesn't want to be on the internet, I'm pretty much going to be in print. And here's the last one, and I think this is the biggest one. Why? Why you? What makes you special? How do you stand out in a sea of sameness? Now let's understand, you sent out the communication, you motivated the client to call you from your marketing. Now here's my question to you. Who's answering the phone? Who did you hire to answer the phone? Now, it could be your daughter, it could be a relative, it could be a skilled professional. That person has to be scripted and practiced, because once that phone gets answered, are they bringing the client into your business? I was about to say salon because you know where I come from. Bring your client into the business to give you the opportunity to do a presentation. So are they scripted, practiced, skilled, and are they encouraging your client to want to know more? In the consultation, your client has now arrived at your business, or maybe you're making a call to their home. This is where you want to deep dive into the client's pain point. It is where you're going to discover what the client perceives will make them happy. Trust me, find the pain point, be the solution. And once you've done that, the third part is going to be conversation. Now, when I talk about conversation, here's the deal. My client is thrilled with the work or service or technique that I provided. Now what I want them to do is I want them to go out and tell the world how happy they are. You've done a great job of discovery. You've offered and provided a solution. Your client is happy. Ask them to tell the world how fabulous you are. Ask them to go on Facebook, Twitter, to do a testimonial. Listen, we're all social animals, and today social media is crucial. Take that testimonial from your happy client, put it out on social media, and watch if that doesn't help increase your sales, because people like buying things that other people have had happiness with. One of the things I often ask a client who's happy with the work we've done in a salon is, please don't keep me a secret. What I want you to do is I want you to tell everybody. Now here's a quick little technique. If you have a business, a retail store or a hair salon or whatever, think about this. Put a laptop at the front desk. When your client's checking out and they're thrilled, ask them to do a quick little positive testimonial on Facebook. And for that testimonial today, you're going to offer them an extra 10% off on any of the retail products or any of the sale from that day. 10% may not sound like much to you. It's a lot to the client. But when it goes out on social media, it'll bring in a lot of money for you. All right, so let's talk about what is successful communication. Here's the process. Successful communication is the right person saying the right thing to the right person or persons at the right time, in the right place. This is the big one. Being heard and understood and producing the right results. You know, oftentimes when my wife is speaking with me, I'll say, yeah, I hear you. She says, I know you hear me, but you're not listening. So let's go through this again. Right person, saying the right thing to the right person, at the right time, in the right place, being heard and understood, and producing the right result. I heard this story years ago, and I'll share it with you. In 1863, there was the dedication of a cemetery in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania during the middle of the Civil War. At that battle, over 51,000 men were killed between the North and the South. 2 men were asked to get up and speak at the dedication to the cemetery. The first guy to get up and speak, his name was Edward Everett. He was considered to be one of the greatest orators of his time. He spoke eloquently. He graduated Harvard University at the age of 17. Now, Everett got up and he spoke over 13,000 words. He spoke for almost 2 hours. The second guy to get up and speak, because of the pressing duties of his office, he wrote a speech on the train from Washington to Gettysburg. His speech lasted less than 2 minutes and consisted of almost 273 words only. Now, obviously, that was Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. So the question is, why is it any fifth grader could fairly well recite Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, yet only an historian could tell you what Edward Everett said? See, Lincoln understood his audience. He knew what was in the heart of his audience, what was necessary to bring them to the emotion of happiness. After 51,000 men were killed, people wanted the war over. So Lincoln was the right person, saying the right thing to the right persons at the right time, in the right place. He was heard and understood, and it produced the right result, which was to bring the nation together and end the Civil War. Now, there's another great story. I've learned from the Bible that Samson, the mighty Samson, slew 10,000 Philistines with the jawbone of an ass. My observation is every day sales are lost with the same technique. So what takes place in the communication process? Understand it is a sending and receiving of images through words, pictures, gestures, and more. There's way more than just words that your client will derive the images that you speak. So let's talk about this. I'm going to give you a story. So we believe that words create perception. So if I were to tell you today that on my way into work, there was a beautiful white horse running down the street, the question to you is, now do you see the letters H-O-R-S-E? Or are you envisioning a horse from a book or a movie? Could be a unicorn, I don't know, but you're seeing the horse that your imagination is creating. Now, on the other hand, if I were to show you a picture of the horse that I saw, you and I would have the same impression. So understand that words create perception. Perception creates belief, and here's the big one. Belief creates reality. When you want to change a person's belief, you must change their behavior. When you change their behavior, you will change the result. And know that people do what is in their own best interest. What would motivate the person to change their behavior so you can get the result that you're looking for? Again, we speak words, yet the listener perceives an image. Today we're going to be discussing 5 conditions to meet in order to be a powerful communicator, 3 basic skills of communication, and the essentials of connecting with the audience. So before we deep dive, let's understand. Selling, and listen closely, selling, which is what we all do every moment of the day, is the transfer of emotion. Even when we're speaking to ourselves, that in our head voice is selling us on, I want to hear more of what Glenn has to say, or nope, I've heard enough, or I want to make sure that I get this done today before I leave work. So selling is a transfer of emotion. And the emotion we transfer to when we spend money or time is the emotion of happiness. So here's the question. Who's happier, the Ferrari owner or the Lamborghini? Well, both if they get what they want. How about maybe the filet mignon person or the T-bone? Again, both when they get what they want. The ice cream lover versus the snowball lover? You got it. Both when they get what they want. So understand that we spend more money on what we want than what we need, and it is in the endeavor to achieve or acquire the emotion of happiness or the perceived emotion of happiness. How many things do you have at home that you bought that when you bought it you said, oh, this is going to make me so happy, and you haven't even looked at it since the day you bought it? You know, it could be that shirt or blouse that's still hanging in the closet that you had to have it and you've never worn it. I'll also share with you this. Want will always trump need. Forget need. Need will always give way to want, and want will always give way to perceived happiness. A simple slogan or statement I use whenever I'm coaching is this: touch the heart. The heart is where the emotion of happiness lives. Educate the brain, because in the brain justifies the sale. Once you've done that, you'll get the wallet, the purse, you'll close a successful sale. Let's pretend I've decided I want a Ferrari. Why? Because I think it's going to make me be happy. Maybe I'll be happy driving through my neighborhood. Maybe it makes me look cool, whatever. So my heart says I want it because I want to feel good. My brain says, Glenn, you deserve the Ferrari. You work really, really, really hard. And here's the last one. Forget price. Price has nothing to do with anything, because if you want it bad enough, you're going to find the money. Therefore, ask yourself this question. When you're working with your client, are you in business to sell what you want to sell, or are you in business to sell what your client wants to buy? Obviously, you're in business to sell what the client wants to buy, because if the market's buying steak and you're selling chicken, you've got two choices, friend. Either sell steak or figure out how you can make chicken taste like steak. Therefore, listening becomes our greatest skill to our business, financial, and personal growth. So we're going to start off by working with the 5 conditions to meet in order to be a powerful communicator. So the first thing is you have to have a burning desire to be a powerful communicator. Listen, there's no room for excuses here. And I'll give you the example. Let's pretend we know someone who's a great college quarterback and thinking about maybe playing football in the NFL. If that young college quarterback does not have a burning desire to be the best quarterback in the NFL, he's never going to make it. So understand that wanting power will create power, or want power creates willpower. The more you want it, the more you're going to make it happen. You'll find a way. In addition to that, you must understand and have a grasp of the process of communication, of how to send and receive images through words, pictures, gestures, and more. So let's back up. Our young quarterback, he wants to be a great quarterback. Secondly, he must understand the game of football and how the process works. And we have to talk about sending and receiving images through words, pictures, gestures, and more. So for example, how many times have we been at a restaurant, we've had our great meal, we want to leave, and the waiter's on the other side of the room. So we make eye contact across the room with the waiter. We make a check mark with our hand in the air, and the waiter immediately knows exactly what we want. We want the check. We need to go. Number 3, under the 5 conditions to meet to be a powerful communicator, you have to master basic skills. Well, just like our young quarterback, basically, you have to study the playbook. And it's a specific playbook, but it's easy to learn. So when you study the playbook, here's number 1. Just like learning the plays, you have to build a strong vocabulary. I've seen salespeople lose the client because of their inability to be articulate and use the correct verbiage. Now, I'll share with you this. It's not using words that have 42,000 letters. It's about using words that get specific and direct to the client. Yet you must build a strong vocabulary. In addition to that, you have to use proper sentence structure. I once heard someone in a meeting say to a group, well, I don't think you understand what I think I said. It only created more confusion. Proper sentence structure is crucial. Think of yourself as the guide on a safari, and your client is the guest. See, you've been on that safari 10,000 times. You've practiced your script. You know it. Yet it's the client's first time, and you never know on the safari what the client will find most important or want to look at. You might want to show them the lions, and they want to look at the flowers along the path. However, no, in the process, you can take the side road with the client, that you always want to bring them back to the main path, to the sale, and to the closure. So our young quarterback has desire, understands the game, he studied the playbook, and he also understands how to eliminate what I call the distractors. The distractors are, how do you play against the other team? And How many times have we been at an event and each person gets up to mention who they are, the name of their business, and what they do, and through the 1-minute sales pitch or the 30-second elevator pitch, every sentence starts with or That is a distractor. It takes the listener away from your main point. There are 2 simple techniques that I teach that I've learned over the years that will help you eliminate and I teach these in my coaching programs. Here's the first one. I studied opera singers because opera singers develop a great voice. And what it is, an opera singer knows how to breathe. Oftentimes when you get up to say who you are, what you do, and why someone should do business with you, you rush so quickly that you don't take time to take a good breath. Now, taking a deep breath, and I teach this in class, is not taking a breath in the top of your lungs and all of a sudden you become very airy and very tinny in your voice. Here's the technique. If you will simply close your eyes, wet your lips, it will automatically open your mouth. Taking a proper breath uses both the nose and the mouth. Now, we're going to do this exercise one time because we only have limited time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count to 3. I'm going to tell you to wet your lips. And then I want your eyes closed. And what I want you to do is to slowly breathe. But I want you to see that breath go past your mouth, your throat, past your lungs, and down into the diaphragm. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, wet. Past the mouth, past the throat, past the lungs, and down into the diaphragm. And you will notice all of a sudden how you have the ability to command the voice across the room or speak quietly to one person at the same time. So learning how to do breathing techniques is really great, and it's very simple. And if you watch the pros, you can't even tell they're doing it. Another great technique to use is what I call the pause. We're so rushed to say who we are and what we do, 9 times out of 10, that's why we forget the other person's name. Train yourself to pause before you speak. It does several things. First, it gives you a chance to gather your thoughts, eliminate and become very specific when you speak. It also tells the listener that you want to make sure you give them the correct information because what they shared with you was so important. So eliminate the distractors, and here's the other ones, kinda, sorta, and it's like. Kinda, sorta, and it's like are vague. If I ask a salesman, is the Ferrari going to be fast? And he goes, kinda. Will it make me look good? Sorta. I'm probably not interested in buying. On the other hand, if I say, is it fast? Man, it's the fastest car on the planet. Will it make me look good? You're going to look as good as James Bond. Sale's going to be made. Remember, clients don't buy vague. They buy specific. Here's your next one. You have to spend time practicing. Now, when it comes to the practicing, Zig Ziglar says, repetition is the mother of learning, the father of action, and the architect of accomplishment. Repetition, repetition, and repetition. The more you do it, the more it becomes unconsciously competent. You want to get to the point that you're so smooth that it looks like you were born with the skill. And practice and repetition do that. Now, I'm a Saints fan, and I hope I'm talking to all Saints fans today. Let's talk about Drew Brees. You know, training camp starts at 10 o'clock in the morning. Drew goes in at 7 a.m., throwing the ball through the tire and studying the playbook. When it ends at 3, he sticks around till 7. Guess what he's doing? You got it. Throwing the ball through the tire, studying the playbook. It is his repetition, his training, and his conditioning of his mind and his body at the same time. So when he's in the game, he's totally involved. You know, there's a little thing I teach in my class, and I call it having the edge. You know what the edge is? It's over the last couple of years, when they get up on the line, Drew looks off to the right, and he notices no one's covering Marcus Colston. And immediately he knows he's got the edge. But without repetition and practice, it's simply not going to happen. Now, when we talk about practice, here's the key, guys. You got to be patient. Don't try to learn how to be a powerful communicator and an incredibly powerful listener all in one step. It's a process of absorption. You know, the old question is, how do you eat an elephant? Obviously, you eat an elephant one bite at a time. Think of it as well when you practice, just like it's the first of the year, you want to get rid of the Thanksgiving food, the holiday food that's put all the weight on. You have to have a workout plan. Now, in that workout plan, you're going to have a practice schedule. And again, like eating the elephant, you have to lose it 1 pound at a time. You can't lose it all in one day. That's simply not going to happen because you didn't put it on all at one time. And hey, listen close. There are no excuses. It's your future. It is your responsibility. You cannot start the next chapter of your life if you keep reading the last one over and over. You're on this webinar this morning because you want to take some action. You want to improve your business life, your financial and your personal life. It starts today. Now, Eleanor Roosevelt said an incredible saying. Yesterday, that's history. Tomorrow is fiction. Today, my friends, is a gift. And I'll add this to it. It's a gift, and that's why it's called the present. You have to take action and take action now. And lastly, hire a coach. Hire someone, find someone who has years of experience in communication, in sales, in marketing. The objective of the coach is to help train you. Remember, even Drew Brees has a coach. Guess what? Even Sean Payton has a coach. Those people he calls on for better skills. How do I become better? Your coach's job is to help move you because he's going to train you. Your coach has years of experience, and your coach sees you from a 360-degree angle. They study your body language, your verbal skills, your listening skills, your eye movement, and your eye contact. My clients, I work a lot on developing listening skills. So once we get past that, let's cover the 3 basic skills of communication. In the 3 basic skills of communication, first thing you want to do is you've got to connect with the audience. Connecting with the client, ask me questions. Now, I have a question I use that has produced literally, when I tell you, millions of dollars of sales for my businesses. And I'm going to share the most important question with you. See, the client comes into the car dealership, they walk into the dress store, they walk into the home improvement store. We already know they're there for a reason. Asking the client, why are you here, is a bit foolish because they showed up at the car dealership. They obviously want to buy a car. But here's the most important question you can ask a client. If you've got a second, write it down. Ask your client this one question. If you could change anything about your blank, what would you change? Now, in the salon business, when a client sits in my chair for the first time, no matter what they are on the appointment book for, my question is always, so Miss Mary, if you could change anything about your hair, what would you change? You know, what is it about your blank that drives you the most crazy? And then I'm going to keep quiet, make notes, and listen. So in connecting with the client or the audience, ask questions to include the client. Do not get up and give a speech. You want the client, tell me about you. For example, if I'm at a networking event and I meet someone for the first time, I don't even want to talk about me. I want to talk about them. You know, what type of work do you do? Are you married? Are you single? Do you have children? Where do the kids go to school? Where do you live? What do you do for fun? What's important to the client is what is their want and their goal. So when people are at a networking event and they want to sell me, I love to be a listener. Listen close. You want to be an information getter long before you become an information giver. Find common ground. So here's another thing. When they tell me about them, I might say, so you have any pets? Oh yeah, we have 2 dogs. Guess what? Me too. Find out what's important to the listener. Find common ground, because you never know. Maybe it turns out your children go to the same school. Maybe you go to the same church. Maybe you like the same movies. Immediately, it starts to develop the relationship. And listen close. We do more business with people we have a relationship with than people we don't, even when the relationship person is not the least expensive. And that is because relationships are built on 2 key words, confidence and trust. Confidence first, trust second. When you have repetition of creating a happy environment for me, I become confident. When you're consistent, I start to trust you. So number 2, convey messages the listener can understand. If you are not clear in your own mind, the client is not going to buy when you use words. Don't sell vague. Remember the words kinda, sorta, and it's like. Learn to remove those from your vocabulary. Be specific. What's in it for me? You know, years ago, for those of you who might remember this Wendy's commercial, there was a lady named Clara Teller. She walked up to the counter and she said, "Where's the beef?" Sure. You can show all the commercials on hamburgers you want, but Clara wanted to know, hey, where's the beef? You showed me this hamburger on TV. How come it's not the same hamburger you're selling me here? So be specific. What will it do for me, the client? Will I be happy with my decision to purchase from you? Now, how do you know if the client's still with you when you're sharing information? Well, let's talk about checking for responses. Look them right in the eyes when you're speaking to them. It is crucial. Don't be looking around the room. Don't be noticing who's walking in the front door. Don't even notice if the phone's being answered. Be in the moment. Look them in the eyes. You know, growing up, I don't know about your dads, but my dad would say, boy, look me in the eyes. Did you wreck the car? Is that your six-pack under the bed? Trust me, when you look them in the eyes, it's going to be very clear that they are still present with you. And what I talk about as well is be present, be in the moment. When you're speaking to your child, when you're speaking to your spouse, when you're in a sales situation, be in the moment. Now, this is a tough one for a lot of you. When I say about be in the moment, turn your cell phone off. In fact, when I go into a lot of situations, unless I need my cell phone to show testimonials, to show before and after shots, or to use to share information, I don't even bring the cell phone into the building. When I'm in a situation where I am the buyer and the salesperson gets a phone call on their cell phone and they stop communicating with me to take the cell phone, it is rude. And it makes me say, you're not interested in me. You're not interested in my emotion of happiness. So I'll share with you guys, if you're out doing a call to sell landscaping or to sell a swimming pool or to sell insurance, turn the cell phone off. Frankly, it's just rude. You wouldn't answer the cell phone in the middle of church or in the middle of a movie. Don't do it when it has to do with your income. Next thing is ask your client to repeat. So when my daughter was growing up, getting ready to go out on her first date, I would say, Corey, make sure you're home at 11 o'clock, okay? She would, of course, roll her eyes and say, yes, Dad. And I'd say, all right, repeat what I say. And she'd say, you want me home around 11 o'clock. Guess what? Around was never in my vocabulary. I said, nope, not around. Let's try this again. What time do I want you home? You want me home at 11 o'clock. Correct. So you must make sure that the client is still with you. Ask them to repeat what you said. It goes a long way. And then also let them finish your sentences. So, Corey, I want you home at 11 o'clock. Another technique to use is the nod. Nodding your head up and down as you're speaking, intelligently, of course, will help the client feel that you're very positive about what you want to do to help the client. So as we come into the 6 essentials for connecting with the client or the audience, here are what we want to do. Number 1, organize your thoughts. I guarantee you, before we did the webinar today, I wrote down my program 3 or 4 times to make sure that I was as clear for my friends and my affiliates as possible. Write it down. I write down my presentation as I said many times. When you tell it, tell stories, the beginning, the middle, and the end. Remember, once upon a time, ta-da, and they all lived happily ever after. Get to the point? Well, what can I say? Clara Teller said it best. Where's the beast? Don't confuse me. Take me down the path. Thirdly, translate what you have to say into the benefits for the client. What's in it for me? What do I mean by benefits? Well, my car has Bluetooth. That is a feature. The benefit is that I get to drive with both hands on the wheel. And does the benefits that I share with the client correct their problem or correct the challenge? Sell the benefit, not the feature. The feature is there to say what it is, but the benefit is what makes me happy. Fourthly, under the 6 essentials for connecting with the audience, ask questions to include the listener. You must be an information getter, as I said earlier, before you become an information giver. Peel back every layer until you get to the one pain point. And sometimes when there's multiple pain points, ask the client this question. Of the things you share with me, what is the most important one that I could address for you today to help make you happier? And then lastly, as if you said, become an information giver, be real. Stop selling. Why do people hate to sell? Well, think about it. We were all brought up with two primary images that make us not want to be salespeople. The first image is that of the older man traveling on the road, living in rundown hotels. He's miserable. His next sale is always going to be the big sale, but it never happens. And then there's the other image of the guy who's got the slick back hair, he's got the slick suit, and it's all about him and not about us. Well, who would want to be in sales if that was the image? But here's the interesting thing. If you read the definition of sale in the dictionary, it says to give. You're going to give information to the client to help them make better decisions, to get past their pain points, and to get to that perceived emotion of happiness. Lastly, be real. Stop selling and think about giving. We all heard the old saying, it's better to give than it is to receive. In the process of selling, your responsibility is to provide value to the client, and the benefit for you will be profit. Just be you. And lastly, be enthusiastically passionate. If you're enthusiastically passionate, you have your game plan, you've studied the playbook, you are going to be very excited. Be excited by the prize. Listen as though what is being said by the client could change the world. Remember, conversation is a dance, and sometimes the other person leads. Listen as though your business, financial, and personal life depend upon it, because it does. Some quick little tips. When you're speaking to the client, I've learned through studies in eye movement, stand to the right of the client. Why? Because we're all trained to read from left to right, and your client will stay focused on you as if you're the end of the sentence. Studies in eye movement tell me you will close more sales when you stand to the right of the client. Here's another little tip. Change if to when. It's not if you purchase the Ferrari, it's when you purchase the Ferrari. It is not if you purchase the landscaping, it is when you purchase the landscaping. So these are some quick little tips, as I said earlier, and use the nod. And if you want to know the last part of the power of communication, I'll share two stories with you. Marriage counselors surveyed said that 57% of the reason young couples would break up within the first year of marriage was lack of communication. He said about her, I didn't know she was going to be a shopaholic. She said about him, I didn't know he was going to become an alcoholic. Conversation, communication is key. Here's a study that was done in the state of North Carolina. Studies were done by the state of North Carolina in grammar schools to study the ability of the students to communicate. Why? Because they had done studies in their prison and realized the majority of prisoners were in prison, and said the reason they went and took the path of crime was their inability to communicate. So North Carolina based its future prison size on the ability to communicate of their grammar school students right now. So I'm going to open this up to questions, turn it over to Stephanie. I certainly hope that I've shared some information with you and some nuggets that you can immediately put into effect, develop your education, your communication skills, and your listening skills. And I'll share the one last one. Remember, the question is always more important than the answer. For without the question, the answer has no value. So Stephanie, I'm going to turn it over to you and some questions. If we have a little time left, I'll be happy to share a few more nuggets.
Absolutely. We have about 15 minutes left.
Cool.
As a reminder, type your questions in the question box and I'll read them aloud. We do have a couple in queue. Glenn, what other communication experts do you admire? You mentioned Zig Ziglar. Is there anyone else that you are finding particularly interesting at the moment?
Yes. Crazy as it sounds, one of my habits in my own practice schedule, and as I talk about practicing, is every morning when I get up, I get on YouTube and I might type in powerful communicators, and I'll spend 15 minutes just listening to people, studying their techniques, and it's amazing because a lot of what I cover, other people cover. And I tell people all the time, I may not say something different, but I do present it different. So there are people I like. There's a guy named Les Brown, absolutely incredibly powerful, certainly Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins, Steve Rizzo, Dr. Wayne Dyer, phenomenal. Jim Robin. I also like a guy named Darren Hardy. He does a everyday tip of the day. Mike Lipkin out of Canada, great communicator. Like myself, he not only focuses on the speaking side, but heavily on the listening side. I really love listening to these guys. I get a lot of confidence information that I start my day with, but that's part of my regime every morning. It's like there's my physical workout, then there's my communications workout. So those are guys and ladies that I like.
Awesome. You mentioned being a communication coach. So from the client's perspective, what does that entail?
So ask yourself, why do I need a coach? You know, I listen to what Glenn said. I can certainly write it down, and I can train myself. But the reason you have a coach is coach has an in-depth knowledge, a long period of the process of learning. So take, for example, Sean Payton. Well, he coaches, and of course he's got assistant coaches as well. But Sean Payton would call on his coaches. For example, he may call on Bill Parcells or John Madden to give him insight. See, you can read the playbook, you can study the playbook. However, the coach sees you from outside. The coach has that 360-degree view of how you stand, how you walk, how you run, how you speak, etc. And again, I'll go back to sports. If a running back runs in and makes a great touchdown, one of the first people to greet him when he comes off the field will be the running back coach. Why? Because, see, he saw the whole field. And now he's going to coach you on how to make the next play, score the touchdown, without having to get hit so many times on your way in. The coach, for example, he hears the words that you use like the conductor of an orchestra hears every note by every musician. So he's able to come back and direct you to greater success. You have ability, don't get me wrong. You have talent, you have skill, you've learned it. However, you're only going to get to a certain level and you're going to peak out. I'd be very honest. I have coaches. I have people I go to who I send my presentation videos to, and I tell them, hey, tear me apart. I want to get better at what I do. I don't want to be good. I want to be known as one of the best at what I do. So I coach, but also seek the advice of coaches. Standing or studying what to do is fine, but your coach is going to get you, he's going to get you there faster. It's just that simple.
Great. Glenn, what industries do you serve as a communication coach?
Communications, as I said earlier, is the key to success, and we are bombarded every day, and then we do our own set of bombarding to everyone we speak with. So when a person understands that your ability to communicate has so much more reaching capability of developing and delivering the emotion of happiness, selling is totally thrown out the window. We communicate constantly. When you walk into a business, what does the person you're going to speak to look like? I mean, what is their visual image? Do they look like they represent the product or the service they sell? Certainly when I walk into a hair salon as a client, I might look at a stylist and go, do I relate to that stylist? See, a lot of times in business, people want to be themselves. But the reality is you have to be who the client wants you to be because you're selling the image the client is going to perceive. So from a communication standpoint and coaching standpoint, if every situation, and listen close and write this down, every situation is a selling situation. Whether you're selling a client or you're selling yourself on what clothes you're going to put on this morning, it's a selling situation. So I do coaching and communication classes and listening skills to anyone in any type of business. So what I would tell you is my primary people that I work with are going to be, I've worked with a lot of people in the beauty industry. I've worked with large manufacturers. I've done training for Procter & Gamble. I've done training for Paul Mitchell Corporation. Yet I've also worked with publishing companies whose salespeople's job is to go out and sell advertisement space in a publication. Real estate agents, certainly, because they have a great impact on the sale and delivery to their client. Insurance people, banking, and anyone in outside sales. So those are the groups that I work with the most.
Okay, how do you prepare for each sales meeting? Do you do it in a specific way?
Sure. How does Sean Payton prepare for every football game? I mean, he has to first, and this is the key, he studies the game film of the team he's going to be playing this week. You know, how many times do we hear Drew Brees say, we take it one game at a time? We're not going to worry about next week's game. We're going to study the team we're going to play against this week. So I want to know everything I can know about my client. I can make certain assumptions. For example, when a client comes into the salon and it's a new client, well, I ask myself this question: am I the first stylist that this client's ever been to? Well, probably not. Yet think about the perception and belief we talked about earlier. Every time that client went to a stylist before me, they had the belief that that stylist was going to be the one that was going to give the client that great haircut, that great hair color, that great men's haircut. Or maybe if someone's had landscaping before, maybe they thought someone else had done landscaping before. So I make the assumption that I'm not the first. Now, in the client's brain, everyone they went to before me, they thought was going to be the one. So why did they leave the other person? Well, maybe it wasn't about their technical skills. Maybe that person let the relationship fall apart. You know, in that first visit when the client comes in the store and you give them a hug and you give them a kiss and you escort them over to a chair, maybe give them a glass of water, a coffee, glass of wine, whatever, and you treat them like it's that person you want to have a relationship with on the first date. I often use this story. Relationships are built on confidence and trust. Now, my incredible wife and I have been married for over 41 years. Now, 43 years ago, because I really thought this woman was incredible and I wanted to have a long-term relationship, I opened the car door for her. On the second date, I opened the car door. The third date, fourth date, fifth date, hey man, I was consistent in opening the car door. By about the fifth date, she became confident. This guy's going to open the car door. Now, let's move ahead. 45, 44 years later, she now trusts I will open the car door because I am consistent in opening the car door. Because I can tell you right now, if it's ever raining and I get in the car first and she's standing out in the rain, she's going to say to herself, he doesn't love me anymore. And we let relationships die with the client. Now they've come into the business one time, two times, three times, and we move from the hug and the embrace and the glass of water or the coffee to, hey, have a seat, let's get you done. We rush them through the process. Sometimes the client just wants to be heard. And it's always about establishing each time they come in, do a fresh consultation. Maybe it's a consultation on, hey, how's the new car working for you? You know, I sold you a car 2 or 3 years ago. How did you love that car? And you know, let's get back to the question. That car I sold you 5 years ago, if you could change anything about that car, what would you change today? Well, you know, my old car didn't have Bluetooth. Well, guess what? I've got all my cars that have Bluetooth. So it's really about developing the relationship and constantly maintaining the confidence to trust scenario. So I hope that helps.
Yep, it looks like we have time for one more question.
Go for it.
Yeah, if a new client is very vague when you meet them, how can you read their body language to help break the ice?
Well, this is a whole class that I do that takes about half a day. I've broken clients into 4 categories, and this is how it works for me. I see clients as either the mind client, the heart client, the body client, or the soul client. And I have a reading that I do with people. So I'll use me for example. See, I'm a mind client. When I go in to buy, this is what I want. Give me the statistics, work mouth. Give me the statistics. Give me the specifics. Give me all the information you can because I want to make my decision based on fact. Then there's the client who comes in and is the heart client. Well, I want to know everything because if it makes me feel good, I'm going to buy. Then thirdly, there's what I call the body client. Now this is not always, but a lot, these are millennials. I'm here, give it to me, I want it now, I don't care to know about anything, I've already made the decision, I'm just here to buy. And then lastly, there's what I call the spirit client or the soul client. This is the person that wants to buy something from you, but they want to make sure it fits within the universe. And I read an individual when they come in. Oftentimes I see people come into the salon for one of my services, which is a very emotional service, deals with women who struggle with fine thinning hair. And it's amazing to see how these wonderful women come in and won't even look me in the eye because they're so embarrassed by the lack of hair on their head. And when we're able to provide a service that helps them, oh my gosh, their shoulders go back, the smile comes on the face, their self-consciousness turns into self-confidence. It is literally an emotional transformation. So before you become an information giver, become an information getter. Ask those questions. Tell me about you. What are your pain points? And what will happen is within a short period of 2 or 3 questions, you've built a profile of that client. That each time when they come in, remember that profile and approach them like that. But always make sure that the last question you ask the client is there anything I could change from the last visit that would make you happy on this visit? And let them share. Remember, you're not in business to sell what you want to sell. You're in business to sell what the client wants to buy. Let them tell you what's important to them. Don't sell what's important to you. You build your business so fast, your business, your finance, and your personal life will change. I mean, crazy as it sounds, every now and then, like once a month, my wife and I have a meeting, and I ask the same question. So we've been married 41 years. If you could change anything about the relationship, what would you change? And when she tells me, I'm going to make that change because I want to have success in my sales situation.
Well, I would like to sincerely thank you, Glenn, for your enthusiasm and for sharing your expertise on communication. This has been a great team.
Love it.
If you have additional questions and are interested in getting in touch with Glenn to discuss this topic and his services as a communication coach, please do so. His contact information is there on the screen. As we wrap, I'd like to turn your attention to the next 10K SB alumni event. On May 11th at the Rusty Nail, we'll have our first 2017 alumni networking event from 5 to 8. We're going to do this in true Louisiana fashion with crawfish and beer. So emails with RSVP details is going to come right after this webinar. If you're interested in hosting a 10K SB talk, please reach out. I'm currently filling the calendar for 2017. We'd love to have you share your expertise. Thanks so much for joining us today, and until next time.